Sometimes they agree with the narrative, sometimes they disagree with the narrative. Their whole purpose is to stir up conflict or to solidify a position. War games, war tactics. There's the left and the right, of course. You know, they're always pretending to be at each other's throats, but the left hand destroys and the right hand rebuilds in a new model. There's ample evidence of that. And frankly, the left hand and the right hand, they don't actually care who's for them or against them. Division is the key. Divide and conquer. Of course, there's a place for incompetence. There's a place for useful idiots. There's a place for charm school graduates, I suppose. So far out of the ability or the range of anyone to actually do anything about it. If the powers that be want a civil war, they'll start a civil war. If the powers that be want overt dominion, they'll demonstrate overt dominion. I keep thinking about it. I keep praying about it in my own way. If prayer is what you call it. You might not call it prayer, I suppose, but it's what I call it. I don't know how long people are going to continue allowing themselves to be divided. One side of the table or the other. It doesn't really matter because it's the same table. It's their feast and we're what's on the menu. The number of killings, assassinations, all of them marketed as random acts of terror, random acts of violence have increased. They don't say that they kill people, they dispose of them as if they were simply taking out the garbage, because that's what a person is to them, is garbage. Because whether it's the left or the right, none of them consider themselves to be human. They consider themselves to be above human, superhuman, extra human. And they firmly believe that humans are in fact assets, liabilities, garbage. And it's one of those self-fulfilling sorts of traps where when they look at people taking the bait, when they look at people following along as they direct, reinforces their belief that people are in fact lesser than they. That they are in fact extra human or superhuman or ubermensch. It's a full deception. Of course, they tout that they are of a certain kind, and they believe that they are of a certain kind. No, it isn't about the money. It was never about the money. They've simply taken money and turned it into an enslaving concept. They paid that guy $45 million just to do a couple of speeches? No. They brokered him for $45 million to pass along a particular message. And on the opposite side, they have a guy who has been well trained to say the things that people want to hear and need to hear, already having determined that he'll lose by just a smidge, thus creating the illusion that the people's voice was almost heard. Maybe he'll get them next time. But at this point, that has happened so many times that there's no possible way that that could be just a little guy sticking up for the little guy. Because they all sound the same. The up-and-comer, the young entrepreneur, or the young venture capitalist that says all those right, correct things, he just barely loses. And then he goes on with his business, doing whatever it is that he's been doing. You know, certain individuals that have been in it for a long time, their whole job is to press that line, keep that hope alive, keep a false hope burning. But everything goes according to plan. It's well organized. It's indestructible. I guess the best that we can do, someone such as myself or yourself can do, is to figure out how to live within it, to figure out how to live under it. Because as far back as history goes, if it isn't one tyrant, it's another tyrant. These very human superhumans have always considered themselves to be above, graced by the gods, blessed by the gods, the veritable lineage of the gods. And the God they worship rewards them for that God demands or commands. I suppose that there isn't much difference between demand and command. Oh well. That being said, I genuinely wish that people would stop taking sides of the same table. I do wish that people would stop aligning themselves with one cannibal or another cannibal. And they are cannibals. They devour everything that we produce. If you have money in the bank, they have it in safekeeping. They're utilizing that money for their own purposes, investing it, reinvesting it. You put $1,000 into the bank and they make $100,000 off of it. You put $10,000 in the bank and they take $4,000 of it in taxes. And still make $1 million off of the $10,000. Without having spent a dime of their own money. Oh, there's a world of common sense ideas out there. Ideas that would be functional, practical. And yet, they are only heard insofar as they can be laughed at, mocked. Dismissed. It's always been like that. There is no accident to the shifting of cycles. This is the world in which we live. I suppose it's not a very heartening message. In the ark and destroys everything else. It calls men weak and foolish and wicked and arrogant, and debased and damned and blasted. Granted, this is something of a starting point. The ugly darkness rolls in and carries over everything else around it. You see, if a creature considers itself to be superhuman or above human, then in the eyes of that creature, no human life is valuable. An asset is one of billions, a liability is one of billions. Nothing more. Easily extinguished, easily destroyed. At the end of the day, money is nothing more than a liability or an asset. Not to be taken too lightly or too easily or too simply. Once a man who was considered to be inofficious and inauspicious. He had one little column in a newspaper. And from that one little column, he controlled the entire world. He didn't have a great deal of money. And in fact, he vocally mocked money. Because he had something far greater. He had powerful friends, and he had power through those powerful friends. All the power that those powerful friends had was obtained from the collected strength of those untold billions of assets and liabilities. I wouldn't like it very much if somebody called me Mr. Asset or Mr. Liability. I don't think anybody would ever call me Mr. anything. I'm not worth giving a name. As a liability asset, I'm no more than a number in a column. One number connected to an overarching system that collects me and disposes of me as it will. There is hope. Maybe not a hope for today. Maybe not a hope for my children or my grandchildren, but there is a hope. So much about a man being stripped down naked. It's about a man realizing that he is naked. It's about a man realizing that he is no man at all in the eyes of men. That he is, at the end of the day, in the eyes of those supermen, obsequious SuperMan. It is the stark recognition and understanding that I am nothing more than a number in their eyes. That the entire purpose of my existence is to serve them, either as an asset or as a liability. That the whole of my existence is wrapped up into those two bifurcated definitions of who and what I am in their eyes. They don't call me by name. They only see that a name was given me, and that name is attached to my number. Because my name is of no importance. Only my number is of any importance. Exist as a slave in an illusion. An illusion of freedom, an illusion of rights, an illusion of dignity. And if my pride is an illusion, if my name is an illusion, if everything that is me is an illusion, then in truth I have nothing to worry about. I have no pride, I have no shame. What I do have isn't particularly all that important. Because whatever I do have is simply waiting on its turn to be used as an asset or a liability. It is an extension of myself as a number. things that are granted me, those things that are taken away from me, are taken away from me and granted me only as an expression of that asset, only as an expression of that liability. The man lets me know that since I am only a number, my rights are no more than that which he grants me, that they are as easily taken away as they are given. And that in the eyes of the man, my only hope to live to old age, to outlive my usefulness, is that in my old age the number that I am becomes only a liability to someone else. But the man will say, see, he has outlived his usefulness, and now it is upon your collected shoulders to support him. Now that he is old and has not had the dignity to die as he ought. And so, in a sense, I die as I have lived, as an asset liability. Simply changing the function of my number as suits. When I look at the big old unholy mess of it all, I can't help but think to myself, okay, that's what it is. And if that's what it is, then fine and fair enough. I'm powerless to do anything about it. I'm powerless to affect any sort of change or any sort of anything, really. And I suppose I'll live with that. Perhaps not happily, but if I am indeed only a number, if I am indeed only an asset liability, then I suppose it doesn't particularly matter whether I'm happy or not. Just so long as I serve my function and serve my function without complaint. And if I can live my life like that, rather not my life, if I can continue to live as that, I suppose I can live as if nothing up to this point and nothing to come is anything more or less than what is made of it.